The New World Order is not a theory, but truth. Not a conspiracy, but actions. You are a slave to an evil corporation in a country ran by an evil that is unspeakable. How do you control someone? You tell someone something over and over again. Eventually, they will believe it as the truth when it is the opposite. You control someone with repetition, hypnosis, cult programming, which then becomes brainwashing. It is a psychological war out here. Welcome to the Neo Brain. Their right hand are in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that hath the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. 666.
Chips injected into their hands. The technology can make some tasks easier and reduce the amount of personal items employees need to carry. John Blackstone looks at the controversial trend and how it could put your privacy at risk.
In a Stockholm business complex, employees gain access not with key cards, but with a wave of a hand.
This is something that you can use just like a key badge.
At a recent tech conference, Hannes Sjoblad explained how a microchip implanted in his hand makes his life easier. It replaces all the keys and cards that used to clutter his pockets.
I use this many times a day. For example, to unlock my smartphone, to open the door to my office.
Sjoblad calls himself a biohacker.
We biohackers, we think that the human body is a good start, but there is certainly room for improvement.
The first step in that improvement is getting a microchip about the size of a grain of rice slipped under the skin. Suddenly, the touch of a hand is enough to tell the office printer, this is an authorized user.
It felt pretty scary, but at the same time, it felt very modern.
The microchips are radio frequency identification tags, the same technology widely used in things like key cards. The chips have been implanted in animals for years to help identify lost pets. Now the technology is moving to humans. A tech startup called Dangerous Things has sold tens of thousands of implant kits for humans, some to tech companies in Europe. Sjoblad even organizes implant parties where people can bond over getting chipped together.
I love gadgets, and now I kind of feel like I'm a gadget myself.
Even a car door can be tweaked to open with a touch, but each touch leaves a digital footprint, and that can compromise privacy. It also seems to be one thing if retailers can track me on my phone to see if they can get me to buy some socks or underwear. It's a different thing if my employer can see where I am, see what I'm doing when I'm off the job.
This is serious stuff. We're talking about a nonstop potential connection to my body. I can't turn it off. I can't put it away. It's in me. That's a big problem.
Even a dedicated biohacker has concerns.
It's very easy to hack a chip implant. So my advice is don't put your life secrets on a chip implant.
Somebody put an implant inside me.
To regulate microchipping employees in Arkansas moves one step closer to becoming law. The full House passed Representative Stephen Meek's proposal Thursday. It would allow employees to opt out of getting microchipped without the threat of being fired. Some of Meek's colleagues wondered why this measure is necessary, but most supported it anyways.
We as a body have got to be proactive to protect our citizens, and that's what this bill does. It's a protection bill.
The bill now moves to a Senate committee for debate. 5 other state legislatures are considering similar legislation right now.
This company says it's about to become the first in the U.S. to offer microchip implants to its employees. You heard that right. Microchip implants under the skin. Josh Rosenthal joins us live from just up the hall to explain this. He's in the building with us right now. Josh, what's this all about?
That's right. So, Lindsay, just outside of the studio here, we've got a few of these vending machines. Now, we all know how these work, right? You walk up, you put your dollar in, you get your bag of chips. Well, as I learned today, these machines are quickly becoming very old-fashioned, and in fact, just how old-fashioned may surprise you. At 3 Square Market in River Falls, a team of programmers designed software for break room markets, like this one. Believe it or not, this is the reason they're about to do this to more than 50 of their employees.
It's the next thing that's inevitably going to happen, and we want to be a part of it.
The concept is pretty simple. Just like how you can buy something nowadays using your phone, what if you could use a microchip inside your hand instead? Todd, you're going to show us how this could potentially work.
Yes. Basically what this is considered is a break room market in an office complex. We'll come up, scan the item. We'll hit pay with credit card. And it's asking to swipe my proximity payment now. I'll hold my hand up, just like the cell phone, and it will pay for my product.
Instead of a credit card,
correct,
your hand.
Because my microchip is now my credit card.
More than 50 3 Square Market employees are having them implanted starting next week. Not only can they buy stuff with them, they'll also be able to use the chips to get in the front door and log on to their computers. Each chip costs $300. The company's picking up the tab. The chip goes between your thumb and forefinger, and CEO Todd Westby says the data is both encrypted and secure. So if I'm one of your employees and I've got this chip in my hand, you won't know, hey, Josh is slacking off. I can tell because I'm reading this chip.
No, there's no GPS tracking at all.
Employees here aren't required to get the chip. One of the ones choosing to do so, however, just so happens to be former North Star player and current Edina hockey coach, Kurt Giles. If somebody told you back in the day when you're flying around the ice playing for the North Stars that you're going to have a chip implanted in your hand, you're going to use it to pay for stuff, you're going to use it to get in and out of buildings, what would you have told that person?
I probably would have thought a chip tooth or a chip of ice, but not a chip that has the technology that we're talking about today.
Okay, now, in case you're wondering, Lindsay, each one of these chips, it's about the size of a single grain of rice. It's tiny, just one little grain of rice. And now, get this. If you get one of these implanted into your hand and you want to get rid of it, you know how you do that? For real? Tell me you just pop it out.
It's almost hard to believe. Did they offer you one?
They did. They very much wanted me to come back next week when they're putting them in employees and get one. Still not sold, but I'm a little closer to being sold than I was when I walked in.
Faster from the vending machine.
Sure would.
Now we need to upgrade the vending machines.
Yeah, really.
All right, thank you, Josh.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no secret is revealed. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
It's a brand new day.
This world is mine for the taking. Make me king as we move toward a new world order, a normal life.
Hear me, friend. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society trying to keep their eye on me.
Americans are traditionally independent, very hard to control. But the architects of the New World Order have ways to force you into submission. First, through a well-orchestrated agenda, including health care, financial security, safety from crime, and environmental issues, the public will be coerced into accepting a national identification card. It will be disguised in the cloak of benevolence, the government doing a great good deed for the people. Once the national identification card is in place, it will become the ID card. Without it, you'll not be able to make deposits or withdrawals at the bank, write a check at the supermarket, or even drive your automobile. Soon thereafter, legislation will require all citizens to carry their national ID card at all times.
The history books are lying. You need to know that. You must know that.
How did we get in the mindset of self-hate today? Why do we kill each other and hate on each other and love the New World way of life, which is to enslave the whole world and their minds? To colonize someone's brain, you must first colonize their land, make them forget their history, their ancestry, or make them to have never known their history at all. What people must understand is that there is an agenda to control and depopulate the world. To achieve that, you first colonize lands. Every land mass on this earth had an indigenous tribe living amongst it. But now indigenous people live on settlements, reserved land, or ghettos, or just a new world neighborhood. Once the colonizers has taken over the land, they then force the aboriginals to learn their language so they can become a slave to their evil system. Once the aboriginal learns the colonizer's language, they can teach the aboriginal their history. Once the teaching starts, this is where the tables turn in indigenous culture. Make the aboriginal feel inferior, where they soon begin to think that the colonizer is superior. The colonizers taught the aboriginal about God, but the wrong type of God, so they could forget about their history. They will teach the aboriginal that their way of life is savage, And their new modern way, the colonizers' way, is better or superior. Soon the colonizers would be looked upon as gods. The white woman would then be a goddess, while the Aboriginal woman is a savage. And soon the Aboriginal woman will begin to hate herself and feel less than, because how can a non-Indigenous person tell an Aboriginal person their history? The colonizer's history will always be taught in a glorifying way, making the colonizers look pure. This is where the mindsets of Aboriginal people were weakened and controlled to the point you begin to live your colonizer's way and hate yourself and anyone that looks like you. Now, to get a weak mindset didn't just happen overnight. It took generations, it took decades and centuries to completely control the Aboriginals' minds. Soon the colonizer would not have to teach their way of life, because now Aboriginals will teach each other the colonizer's way of life. They will teach their kids, and their kids will grow up and teach their kids, and their kids will do the same. Soon, the Aboriginal way of life will no longer exist, and the colonizer's way of life would be the normal way of life. But in reality, the colonizer's way of life is about world domination and control. The Aboriginal becomes a slave to a corporate world that is ran by complete evil.
Operation Midnight Climax is part of a larger top-secret CIA program called MK Ultra. The goal: learn how to control and even reprogram people's minds. The CIA believes LSD might hold the key. Over the next 10 years, the agency doses a cross-section of the American public. Everyone from unwitting housewives to soldiers to even criminals like gangster Whitey Bulger is tested.
You know, what the CIA really dreamed of was sort of like a drug you could give to someone, get them to commit all sorts of unspeakable acts, and they wake up the next day and they don't remember what they've done.
To understand mind control, you have to know your indigenous natural state to understand or know the change that has taken place. If you never knew indigenous life, then how can you truly understand life for what it really should be? Now, our wrongs are our right, and our rights are our wrongs. Let me explain. For example, education. I laugh at human bots who say, get an education. Education, the wrong you think is right. Education is just a tool used to form slaves or human bots. The definition of education is the process of receiving or given systematic instructions, especially at a school or university. Systematic definition is done or acting according to a fixed plan or system. That fixed plan is to make the whole damn world part of the New World Order system and to condition children to live as socially integrated citizens. Now, these so-called colleges or universities play a huge part in the making of the New World Order. The most influential 3 secret societies all started in colleges and universities. These schools have given birth to institutions devoted to world enslavement. Mental power and knowledge is not the purpose of education. And I'll say that again. Mental power and knowledge is not the purpose of education, but world domination is. The individual will only find freedom only in obedience to the state laws and education. You see, education is the same tool the Australian Aborigines were forced to endure in the stolen generation era from 1960 to 1970. The colonizers, who called themselves the government or missionaries, stole the indigenous Aborigines' land and boldly stole the Aborigines' children right from their front yards, right from their parents. They then taught them an anglicized education to create a worker or slave to the corporate world of the New World Order. The demon elites who control American society also control the educational system and population future. Education is used to keep slaves in the system of the New World Order and not to have you think as an independent, indigenous, free man.
So the history talks about that our culture, our law has been raped. It's a sad story, but that story needs to be told so that the world can understand, the world can know that what is happening in the other corner of the world, which has been a hidden gender, has to be publicly announced and proclaimed.
The earth will not vanish. That's the law and the fundamental belief. It's this soil here, the land. That's our law. It has been existing before the colonization of westernized world.
For 60,000 years, Australia has been home to over 400 Aboriginal nations. Over 2 centuries of conflict, oppression and assimilation have left them fighting for their cultural survival. Nearly half of their languages have been lost, and many are critically endangered. Across the country, the clash between worlds continues, as the oldest culture in the world is besieged by its youngest. One such place is northeast Arnhem Land in the Northern Territory, the home of the Yolngu people. Gulawinku on Alco Island is the largest community in the region.
The culture is alive and well to this day. We are not here to fade away. We are not here to die out slowly, but we are here to retain our heritage, our beliefs, our spirituality. And that's the way our old people have kept it. And that's the way they are handing it down to us. And that's the way we will hand down to our generation.
Our law make a whole and change because government is always change. Marako Rome buying on knowing how to change. This is law from coming in from Nada. That's why buying will change.
During the late 1800s and early 20th century, whilst much of the country was being colonised, the Yolngu gained a reputation as proud warriors who fiercely resisted any occupation by outsiders. Today, whilst their culture remains strong, their future, like that of other Aboriginal nations across Australia, is under threat.
My name's Genevieve. I'm a single mother with 4 children and 9 granddaughter and grandson. I live here at Warwanga, and I'm being a strong grandmother, but living in a place awkward with 3 families for themselves, only a 3-bedroom house.
Hidden from the eyes of the world, 2/3 of Aboriginal people in remote communities like Gulawinku live in overcrowded housing.
This room here is where all the elder boys, all the old boys, the family stop here, our sons and nephews. They have this one special room there. There's 5 of them. Let's say 5 to 6 boys again live in this room. All my other nephews and sons. This is like the overcrowding of a house. Just this one house. This is half of the family in this house. Tonight it will be like a full house.
When they were living together, 20 or 30 people in one house, it's ridiculous. For health, it's like living in 700 years in Europe.
We have to be overcrowded because there's no more housing, and there's promises like housing is going to be built, yet we're still waiting for that houses.
Medical research has consistently shown the link between overcrowded housing and infectious ear, eye and skin diseases, all of which are now widespread in Gulawinku.
Diseases and illnesses that are commonplace in the third world but ought to be unheard of in a rich industrialised country like Australia. The levels of those in many Aboriginal communities are appalling.
Health and mortality statistics in remote Aboriginal communities are some of the worst in the world. On average, an Indigenous person will die 17 years younger than a non-Indigenous Australian. Child mortality is 3 times higher.
it's a huge indictment, I think, of Australian government policy over recent decades that things have been allowed to get this bad.
Despite decades of government attempts to close the health gap faced by Indigenous Australians, little has improved, with Aboriginal life expectancy now the lowest of any Indigenous group in the world.
It's a poverty. We live in a poverty. But that wasn't our problem. We were rich. We were rich when we were living alone in our country.
Before the arrival of missionaries in 1942, the Yolngu lived a nomadic life on their ancestral clan estates, now known as homelands.
In olden days, people used to get dying of sickness at all, nothing sickness, nothing, healthy all the time. Because Ngata and Aboriginal food is balanced. Yolngu people doesn't live in one place all the time. They move from place to place. Mainly missionary people make us stay in one place and give us rising house and all those.
In the mission like Kaliwenpo and many other places, we're being taken away from our estate, our country, where there is a value, where there is a taka, we were really good taka, a good food, a natural food. We were taken away by church, by the welfare. We've been taken away. We were put into the yard, and they said to us, stay in the yard.
The imposition of this new way of life has been shown to cause ongoing problems for Indigenous people in Australia.
People who are predominantly based in townships, they don't get enough exercise. Their nutrition is much poorer.
The adventure starts now. Like many countries formed under colonialism, Australia has a pretty horrible track record of mistreating its Indigenous people, the Aboriginals and Torres Strait Islanders, many of whom have become known as the Stolen Generation. Why do they call it the Stolen Generation?
Because it was a whole generation of kids that was taken from their homes. Basically, you either had to be black or white. You couldn't be brown or in the middle.
So they would consider you in the middle and you would have been...
taken.
Not kidding. Up until 1970s, by law, any Indigenous child who looked like he or she had any amount of white ancestry in them could be snatched from their families and forcibly assimilated into white society.
My grandfather, my mum's father, he was part of the Stolen Generation. He was really young, taken out.
How old was he?
Maybe a year old when he was taken.
Oh, wow. So he never knew his real family.
He knew, because when he was taken from the front yard of where they lived.
Wait, what? He was in the front yard and somebody just pulled up and took him?
Yeah, policemen or rangers would come, pull up, just grab these half-coloured kids or coloured kids and then chuck them in the truck and then take them.
As the little boy was being forced into the back of a truck, his aunt, a young child herself, sacrificed her own freedom so he wouldn't be alone.
When she heard the commotion of him crying and screaming, she ran and voluntarily just jumped on.
Light-skinned children were often adopted by European families, while darker-skinned children, like Deanne's grandfather, were sent to missionary camps.
Most of the missions were based on islands, so
and
they'd send you away, let you grow up there in a mission and learn about, the Catholic side of it and a European way. You'd learn English and then...
Try to make you forget your family?
Yeah.
You never got to see them, or...?
Yeah, you never ever got to see them. There was no such thing as visiting hours. He spent the rest of it on the island until he was like 18, 19. When he came off, he knew.
18 or 19 years old, basically in prison.
Yeah, on an island.
Just for being born?
Yep, just for being born light.
The indigenous people have lived off the land since the beginning of time with no so-called education. Their education was taught by elders in the tribe. They learned from watching the animals, the trees, birds, insects. Nature was their education. Nature was their teacher. But what changed? From generation to generation to generation, things changed because of colonization. Indigenous people were disconnected from earth, disconnected from our history, the land, the soil, the trees, our ancestors, our true life. We were disconnected from. And then soon we would be connected to the world of hate, money, racism, slavery, materialism, cancer, disease, hunger, greed, extinction, and deceit. So to understand how we got here today, let's start from the beginning and the creation of the New World. On the American dollar bill, you will find a symbol of a pyramid. Under that symbol, you find the words Novus Ordo Seclorum, which means a new order of the ages, or new world order. The symbol was approved in 1782, 6 years after America was incorporated in 1776. Now, the interesting thing is that the biggest well-known secret society, the Illuminati, was also founded in 1776 on May 1st by a man named Adam Weishaupt, a German Bavarian professor. Now, was this a coincidence? I don't think so. You see, the Roman numerals on the bottom of the pyramid also read 1776, the year of the Declaration of Independence. But what people don't see is the hidden subliminal number 666 and the Roman numerals MDCCLXXVI. In Revelations 13:18, it states, "Let the ones with wisdom calculate." 666 is brought up in the Bible 3 times, in Revelations, 1 King, and Ezra. Now, the number 666 has several different meanings and theories. Some theories are 666 is a solar number. Some believe it's the devil's number. But 666 is carbon and the number of the original man. The Bible in Revelations 13:18 directly tells you that the number 666 is the number of a man. Man is a human or a person. Science states we are all made of carbon, right? We're all made of 6 neutrons, 6 protons, and 6 electrons. Carbon is also used for genetics and DNA. So are humans the devil or the beast the Bible speaks of? 666 may be looked as an evil number, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's all about the devil directly. Yes, 666 is talking about humans, but more about human systems and how it is not a godly system, but rather ran by the devil. You see, every 6 and 666 has its very own meaning. The first 6 represents the false religions that majority of the world follows under the devil's lead. The Bible really isn't even about religion. In fact, it's just the opposite. Many people are so devoted to religion than they are the true higher being or the true creatress. Religion is how humans are influenced by Satan. The second 6 is about the evil government that controls and deceives the world. The third 6 represents self-centered humans who have allowed the devil to control the world. 666 is all about human nature. Humans are 666, are beasts, because humans are influenced by the devil consciously and unconsciously and have allowed the devil to destroy earth, humans, and animals. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast for it is a number of a man. That number is 666. The New World Order simply means a one world socialist government ruled and governed under the United Nations with a multinational military force, a world court, a world bank, a single world currency, and a world trade agency. Soon, very, very soon, you will not be able to buy, trade, enter a federal building, or even board a plane for travel without the mark of the New World Order or without the mark of the beast. The beast created this new world. The beast is talked about in Genesis and in Revelations. Lucifer was a fallen angel, or Nephilim. He was considered the most powerful and the prettiest angel in heaven. Now, he was cast from so-called heaven, and he took a third of the angels in heaven with him. This is why life is hell on earth. And Satan, he wants your soul, and he'll do anything to get it. People on earth have been deceived into worshiping him unconsciously. You think you are worshiping the creator of life, but really you are worshiping Satan. And that is why we are slaves to a corporate, evil, materialistic world.